recently upgraded from the Hope Tech 4 V4s to the new Evo GR4 setup, and I wanted to share my thoughts on those so far. Had a little bit of time on them now, and just kind of wanted to compare them to what I was running before, some of the new stuff that they've added with these. So now from the Tech 4 V4s, the big changes on those are you're going to have a bleed port now, which is really nice, instead of having to take the reservoir cap off of these things. And so this allows for a bit more consistent bleed, less mess, a lot easier to deal with. So that's been great. They also did some changes with the lever blades. So before they didn't have as pronounced of a hook on them, which I did not like, because I went from the Tech 3s prior to that, and they had a more pronounced hook, and I really like that on a lever. So I'm kind of glad they changed that. And they've also came out with 3 different blades for these. You're going to have the standard, which is what they come with. You have a control and a power, and kind of think of it more versus the name, just kind of like how close you want it to the bar. So the standard probably works for most people. If you're trying to get even closer into the bar, you can go with the control lever, and then if you like running it further out, you can go with the power. From what I've heard, there's no real difference in power delivery between these different profiles. It's more just kind of what you are into. Now, in addition to that, they did a change with the cam, and the cam is basically going to make it to where there's less dead stroke in the levers, where the V's with the Tech 4 lever, you basically had a ways before you kind of started bringing on the power, where these, it's much more immediate. And I found it to be slightly less fatiguing than the prior setup, which has been nice. Now, another thing that they've also done with these is the pistons are also larger, so they do produce a little bit more power. I would say it's not like night and day difference between the V4 setup, but it does feel a little more strong. They also changed the calipers on these. They're a little more compact, so they should fit with more frames than they did before, and they're supposed to be a bit stiffer as well. This time around I went with the braided hoses, and there's not really big difference as far as like what you're going to get with those. I just figured they looked a little bit nicer, a little less abrasion issues, so I just opted to get the braided hose this time versus the standard hoses. They still have the same bite, reach, adjust as the previous models. You can still put the matchmakers on there, clean up your cockpit a bit, which is what I've done. So I will say the modulation on these have been great. I would say better than the Tech 4 V4 setup. You don't have as much movement on the lever, and so it's just the power delivery is super smooth, and you can really modulate these things and make sure, like when you're creeping down some slabs or you're trying to maintain your traction, I feel these ones are a little better as far as that goes. So that's been great as well on these. And so far they've been great. 0 issues that I can report so far. Obviously it's kind of the winter getting to be spring season that I've had these for. So we'll see how they perform this summer when I'm kind of doing longer like runs, and see how they perform. But so far I definitely like them better than the old setup.